The attack of a deranged gunman rocked the nation after they opened fire on a Catholic school in Minneapolis, slaughtering 2 children and injuring at least 17 others on August 27th. Robin Westman opened fire through the stained glass windows of a church at the Annunciation Catholic School before committing suicide. But who was Robin Westman? Here's what we know so far. 23-year-old Robin Westman, formerly Robert Westman, has been identified as a transgender woman from Minnesota. Westman applied to change names from Robert to Robin in Dakota County at 17 years old, according to court documents. The name change was granted in January 2020. The petition added that Westman, quote, identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification. Just hours before the cowardly massacre, Westman posted a series of twisted videos on YouTube, which included a manifesto, Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hare confirmed at a press conference. In one 20-minute video, Westman flips through a disturbing handwritten manifesto. In the deranged writings, it states that Westman had been suicidal for several years, but wanted to take others out too. Westman goes on to gleefully fantasize about, quote, being that scary, horrible monster standing over those powerless kids, and overtly confesses admiration for the 2012 Sandy Hook massacre, as well as other mass shootings. Each page is filled with unintelligible handwritten doggerel, as well as writings in Cyrillic, which include violent ramblings such as, quote, I have had thoughts about mass murder for a long time. I am very conflicted with writing this journal. The text, translated by the Post, reads in part. The writings also go into great detail about his decision to target Annunciation, where Westman's mother, Mary Grace Westman, worked until her 2021 retirement, according to a Facebook post by the church. Quote, maybe I could attack an event at the on-site church, which was ominously scribbled. Quote, I think attacking a large group of kids coming in from recess is my best plan. Then from there, I can go inside and kill, going for as long as I can. Westman's journal also contained copious amounts of anti-Semitic bile. Quote, if I will carry out a racially motivated attack, it would be most likely against filthy Zionist Jews. Another video posted to YouTube in the hours before the massacre showed a cache of weapons, including a semi-automatic rifle and a shotgun. Ammunition magazines were scrawled with, quote, for the children, kill Donald Trump, and 6 million wasn't enough, a reference to the number of Jewish Holocaust victims. While the deranged writings fantasize about assassinating President Trump and Jews, they also revealed a motive, that killing, quote, children of innocent civilians would bring, quote, the most joy. Westman, who died at the scene of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a handgun.
Welcome to Just the Guys Podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Saturday, August the 30th, the last Saturday in August. I'm your host, Logic, and I got my guys with me, Gimpy, Reason, and Soldiers. Again, if you haven't done so already, hit that like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel. We are your weekly reminder to bring back shame. And if this week wasn't a reminder why shame is needed, I don't know what is, guys. You saw the opening clip, the post from, well, the video from the New York Post. And earlier this week, there was this gunman, transgender guy that went in and shot up a school, Annunciation school in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, killing 2 and injuring several others. And guys, like, I want to get into it. So today we're going to talk about how communism has caused this, as well as talking about a little bit more about the Smithsonian and some of the things that are going on there. And we're actually going to listen to some voices of some slaves from back in the day, and we're going to kind of get some real-time reaction to that. But guys, when you first heard this, Soldiers, when you saw this event happen or see it on the news, because we weren't there, what was your first reaction to this when this event took place?
I will be completely honest with you. I unfortunately am somewhat desensitized. I was with some colleagues at lunch, actually, and one of them just happened to glance at their phone and say, "Oh, this happened." And we like, oh wow, that's unfortunate. Not many details, but then we went back to eating, okay, because this is happening so often now. And then later on, when I got home, I have shared before, I am a Catholic, okay? And so I'm not going to lie, when I'm sitting in Mass, this is, I guess the West Baltimore in me. I have a concern about anybody can come in at any time and they approach from behind you. Okay. And so if it's my time, it's my time. I can't do anything about that. But as I thought a little more about it, and I guess we'll get into this in a deeper way, when I found out that this was a transgender person who did this, okay, my mind immediately said, "Oh, mental illness." All right, and that's what this is. And until we got people out there talking about gun control and all of that kind of crap. Well, the American Psychiatric Association, they had transgenderism in their protocols as a mental disorder for many decades. All right. And then public pressure and probably a plethora of transgenders in the psychiatric field got it taken out. But they need to change the form, the 4473 ATF form when you purchase a firearm. And it needs to go deeper into not just whether or not you have been adjudicated as or seeking or currently undergoing treatment for mental illness. They need to get a little deeper with that. And look, and this might be popular. I don't give a damn. If you don't know whether you are a man or a woman, you have a mental illness.
So Gimpy, now when you saw this, Gimpy, were you a little desensitized? Like, how did you react or respond when you first heard about this, saw this?
I felt I gave the exact right amount of reaction, and it was that as others were clamoring to ban guns, I was clamoring to ban trans, because we have a trans violence problem in this country. So for me, the answer is we should just make laws that prevent this from happening. Make mental institutions great again.
So Reason, I mean, you and I both have kids, man. But could you imagine though, especially sending your child to a church that's, also a school? Could you imagine sending your child there and then getting that call saying, hey, there's emergency, or seeing it on the news or anything like that? Like, how did you respond? What was your kind of reaction?
I found out and I went back to work. I guess I'm kind of like soldiers. It is getting to a point in which it's just often. And as they stated on Christian Conservative the other night, they pray, send our thoughts and prayers, and we just go back to normal. Because it happens so much. It's happened so often that it's just not. It doesn't feel like it's lost its shock value. Quite honestly.
So what is normal then?
To answer your question,
but what is normal then?
Well, to answer the first question before what is normal, how would I feel about that? I would feel, if it was a church situation, I would kind of feel all right with that, because I know the people that I go to church with and the people at the church I've been to, we wouldn't worry about that. Okay, we're good with that. I'm sure there are enough people that can protect whoever walks in the front door wanting to act stupid. I truly believe that. School, I'm slightly concerned about. On last Wednesday, or this previous Wednesday night on Pop and Politics, what did Shelley say? Shelley said, I believe that schools or the teachers should be trained and armed and all of that good stuff. And
have you seen who teaches your kids?
Say again?
Literally, have you seen, for the overwhelming majority of Americans, what that means, who you would be arming? You'd
Yeah,
be
well,
arming people who
yeah.
are part of the problem, right?
Yeah, I get
Literally,
that. I get that.
the ones who hide it from the parents. You're literally advocating to arm theoretically your enemy. Like that's what that advocates for, right? Like that can't be right. You can't have both opinions at the same time.
No, I'm not.
Like, these people can't. I'm just pointing out again. I'm not knocking your opinion. I get it. You want to arm teachers, but the reality of that is like 80% of these teachers are part of the problem. That's why we're here, right? The teachers union lets them hide it from the parents, assist with transition. They okay lying. They okay CPS intervening to take kids away from their parents. I mean, you two are the big parental rights advocates as the parents who have history, right? Like I'm just pointing out to you, the reality of that position is insane because you're literally advocating to arm the people you're worried the most about. Just throwing that out there. I get the theory.
Okay, so you know North Carolina.
Literally, like let's give guns to everybody who wants to throw us.
I got it. Do you guys know that in North Carolina that's kind of started already, right?
Okay. Well, they're arming teachers.
Yeah, that's happened in a county in North Carolina already. And I'm sitting here and I was sitting here like, but these are only in specific areas. These are in locations of places that are down south that have a specific mentality that say, you know what, that aren't walking around. The teachers aren't walking around with purple hair.
There are blue cities in North Carolina.
Yeah,
there are. Like, dude, again, for the overwhelming majority, Randy Weingarten and her teachers union give them marching orders, and you're advocating for arming those people. The blue-haired people who think pride flags are more important than American flags. I mean, that's what makes up the bulk of the teachers. Even in good places like the Catholic schools and whatever, they only have what they can pick from in the labor market, and who's going to be school teachers, right? I mean, it is the communists, it is the leftists, the conservatives go get earning jobs. Because
let me
first shout out Kung Fu. Kung Fu said, I said once, and I'm saying it again: no gun-free zones. We appreciate the $5 super chat, bro. Go ahead.
And Kung Fu CJ raises a good point here because think about one of the institutions that the left really despises. Above all, I mean, they're definitely in the top 3, the police, right?
All right. So before you go there, okay. we're gonna go there.
No. I don't think you know where I'm going. I don't think.
Well, yeah, I promise you'll be able to bring it up.
Okay.
I promise you.
Okay.
But I want to start with this though. Because I want to explore this idea though that it is communism that's kind of leading to this push, right? America at this point has been infiltrated by communists, and the communists don't have a 5-year plan, right? It's not just a 5-year plan or a campaign strategy. There is a long plot that is the fruits of that plot are being seen more and more now. So the first thing, you guys' initial response kind of alluded to this, man. Like we can't solve the problem until we're willing to confront what's causing the problem. And that's really what I want to start exploring through this conversation, is because when we say we're desensitized to it or these things are normal, it's like, are we really looking to solve the problem? Are we wanting to face this, confront it? Or are we just going to say this is everyday normal life and that's just going to be how it's be? Now, my goal with problem logic. My goal with this is just to plant a seed and build a community of people, of particularly men, that want to change the culture. Again, the existing culture that we have is lost. We have to be willing to confront and create a new culture, right? So I want to explore this because the communist plan has been laid out, and I've been telling everybody to read books like Manning Johnson, Color Communism, Common Sense, and also check out the 45 Communist Goals. And I actually want to go through a couple of those that were written into the 1963 congressional record. It was from a book called The Naked Communist. And again, these are all in the congressional record. And if we really just go back and look at these things, it's all there. So the first one I wanted to explore, right, is transferring some of the communist goal number 38, which is transfer some of the powers of arrest from the police to social agencies. Treat all behavioral problems as psychiatric disorders, which no one but psychiatrists can understand, right? So when we examine this, right, I looked at like what are Minnesota's gun laws, right? What are Minneapolis's gun laws? What are some of the gun laws that were result or the processes toward and attitudes towards police that were result of the defund the police movements, George Floyd. So soldiers, like, you know, I want you to kind of dig into the police, you know, the idea of police. But so this communist plan is deep seated at this point.
Oh no, and you started this thing off right by saying the current culture is trash. We've got to change it. Reason you're seeing like a schism in the culture, you'd never see New York or Massachusetts advocating to arm teachers, right? Then you this thing is so multifaceted, because when it comes to schools and how the left views schools, remember, it's the teachers union. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's that voting block that they care about, not the actual students, right? You can tell that in the curriculum. And again, I always use the caveat, parents got a lot to do with it as well. But what I was going to say, and kind of to answer your question, Logic. All right. So what is the one institution where we never see these attacks occur, right? Police stations, all right? We've even seen it on military bases, because a military base is basically an office park. Everybody's not walking around strapped. But a police station, everybody's walking around with a gun. So you don't see these, even though the left despises that institution, you never see them go there and do these things, okay?
Well, they did in Seattle. They shut down a police station in Seattle when the whole Chaz Chop thing.
Oh no, the order came from the mayor. Yeah, that happened, but you never see. I watched Terminator again a few nights ago. You never see a cat going in there like Arnold Schwarzenegger and taking it to the cops. You never see that, okay? Because that wouldn't go on for too long at all, right? In fact, you did have a lady try it a few years ago, and she's not among us anymore. So
you have unalive by cop all the time. People,
yeah, but the distinction I'm making here is that someone getting up, making a decision in their mind to go to where the cops are, just like this guy made a decision to go to where the little children are. Okay, you might see an attack on one cop out in the street and things like that, but you don't see attacks.
Dude, they have a term for it. Like, there's a term they call it. I mean, you're not allowed to say it, but they call it unalive by cop. I mean, people purposefully confront the cops directly to
but again, we're talking about you're saying that the building. I'm talking about like this guy went to a place where the targets were, where his intended targets were, and he knew they'd be there. He knew they'd be vulnerable. He even writes about this. You don't see that with their most hated institution, the police. So just to land the plane, put the chips in the bag, or whatever the hell Logic says. This
CT.
thing is
in the bag is me, yeah.
Oh, okay. This thing is definitely an indicator of, because what does this happen? This happens like several times a year now, right? Okay. And back to wrap it up, what Kung Fu CJ said. Sure, these stores, you ever go into a store and they have like the no gun sign?
Yep.
Okay. So if I'm possessed of evil intent, oh, this is perfect. Okay. They're actually letting me know that they're not armed. Let me just stroll on up in here and do whatever evil I want to do. So yeah, I think an armed society is a very polite society, and all of these people walking around here so-called crazy they might have some more difficulty if in carrying out their agenda if we had more armed citizens.
I was at I was at a family reunion in Vegas, Summerlin, as a matter of fact, and we were walking through the neighborhood, and I was talking to my cousin, and I asked her and her husband, I'm like, "Wow, it's incredibly quiet out here." She goes, "Oh, that's because everyone's armed." And she goes, "You're not going to walk into a house that's somebody." Yeah. So yeah, I believe that 100%. And if I may see real quick, and I promise I'll shut up. So on a previous show, JT, as a matter of fact, it was previous Christian conservative, JT jumped on and said that logic needs to come out of the basement, and he has, which is a beautiful thing. And he said, I need to face forward, and I am, which is a beautiful thing. And he said, Tyrone needs to have better bandwidth, and he does. It's a beautiful. So we took care of everything that you said, JT. Okay.
Don't
Just wanted to let you know, man.
The show is young. Don't jinx the bandwidth.
Hey, look. Hey, we are all citizens of the state of Tyronistan, and we are all connected to one AP in that's located near the house of where Bling lives. So we're all connected to the same Wi-Fi. So every now and then, got a little bandwidth issue. I digress now.
I'm on JP
the S-Files. What's up? What's up, the S-Files? It's good seeing you. Hey.
All right. So let's get back on track a little bit. But when it comes down to, especially with this guy, this transgender person, this man that shot up the school, shouldn't the first person to respond be a social worker? Shouldn't that been the first stop for him?
Are you insane?
Really? Like, seriously?
That's what they want. That's what they say.
Are you asking that as a loaded setup question? The loaded setup question is no, of course not. Even in their crazy universe, because he's shooting, they'll send cops because you can't put the social worker at risk. God forbid.
We're working on it.
I mean, like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, they're still not. Like, they're cunning. Like, you try and point it out a minute ago how cunning they are, but what is those 45 goals to achieve, right? You talked about the 45 goals. You want to highlight it. So I have a follow-up question for that presentation, sir. In that presentation, what are those goals there to achieve? A revolution, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
The communist revolution. Yep.
Right. Because as soon as the communists take over, like 80 to 90% of those goals get wiped out. And they replace it with insano authoritarian policing where social programs, you know why they want you to get used to social things? You know what they keep from that? That political officers can come into your house and search your thing. But don't worry, they're still surrounded by armed polizia. And like, dude, I hate to break it to everybody. You're right about it all, but like it's a system. It's existed. We've all seen it. We just think that the people who do it here think somehow it's not going to turn into what exactly turns into every single time.
But isn't the problem though? It's like a slow moving system that it's so slow that it seems like it's not happening.
No,
right?
That's the beginning. Wait, we'll hit an inflection point, and then you'll get Pol Pot, where they're killing people in the street because they got to purge the intelligentsia class. They got to purge the kulak class. Don't worry, dude. All four of us will be lined up against the wall. They'll be coming looking for us because we have a digital footprint. They'll be able to track us with some stupid LLM that they're producing. And
so, guys, that makes a case, man. You have to support the show because we need to make sure we can arm and protect ourselves, train ourselves, and get ready. Because I'm not standing up against the wall.
I was going to say,
but I'm telling you,
they might get me, but it ain't gonna be standing up against no wall.
Right. All right, guys. So number 3, develop the illusion that total armament by the United States will be a demonstration of moral strength. Now, this one, it's more of it's a macro and a micro goal, right? So from the world stage, the U.S. not having nuclear weapons, things like that. But also when you look at the micro, how do you plant that seed of the U.S. shouldn't have nuclear, or we shouldn't be developing our defense systems because the part of disarmament is saying you shouldn't have military style weapons. So what do they call, you know, an AR nowadays, you know, in personal possession, right? That is a military style weapon. So when we look at number 3, you know, and these things are happening in real time. You have this every town for gun safety, and they're building a movement. They call it the registered voters. So that's influencing the electorate, right? Get candidates. So influencing politicians, and demand action, right? So creating policy, and then change.
Do you think that these shootings cause more people to align with them or to go buy a gun?
Well, that's the thing, right? I think it does both, right? And it depends on where you are on that.
300 million guns that exist in this country plus, right? We know of, like, easily we know that we can say there are 300 million privately owned to the 180 million people that live here guns. Basically, every human inside the United States' border, you should assume, has 2 guns on them at all times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, and every time some trans Tifa dude like this shoots up a school, you're right. 10,000 crazy people go to the streets and whatever, but because of the desensitizing effect that they're talking about, just as many people decided, you know what, it's just safer to go pick up a gun. And once someone owns a gun, how quick are they going to be to relinquish it? I'm just saying that's my take on it. I think that that's the biggest failure in America. It's one of the fail-safes of just having too many guns already in the country. You would need an act of God to disarm this.
Well, there's no such thing as too many guns.
I'm saying as a minimum, not as an overall. We're beyond a minimum amount of. There are too many minimum amount of guns in this country to disarm. If 30% of the armed populace refuse to give up its guns, that's still 100 million guns.
Right. Well, look, this is, and I also want to add this. There are only 2 times in your life where you can have too much ammunition, and that is if you are drowning or on fire. Other than that, there's no such thing as too much ammunition.
I'm just saying.
I got you. I'm just putting out a public service announcement. Now, the other thing, they're being understand this. The left is very, very precise with a lot of their agenda items. When they say military style weapons, okay, that gives them an opening to take away all firearms, okay? The Mossberg 500, that's a 12-gauge shotgun that is used in the U.S. military. A K-bar, you got an assortment of sidearms, okay? So when they use that term, military style weapon, what they mean to let you know is they want total disarmament. Total. Okay.
Yeah. And that's 3. And hold on. Let me say this first, reason. When you think about, number 3, right, what it's saying, total disarmament. Let's think of the building that the children were in, right? It's a sign of moral strength to have an unarmed school, right? It's a sign of moral strength to have an unarmed church, right? This is the attitude and perspective that has infiltrated a lot of our institutions to say, we don't need guns here, when our Second Amendment right was there to, protect from enemies, foreign, domestic, right here, right? One of the recognitions is that we know evil exists and evil can pop up at any time. And because, again, the diminishing of religion in the country, they don't believe in that evil exists. So what do you say to that, reason?
I say it sounds weird when I hear the opposite of morality is common sense. Excuse me. I just think that sounds weird to say we're moral, and because we're moral, I don't think we should do something that now society dictates would be considered common sense. You see what I'm saying? So, like, common sense would be to arm and protect yourself. There's been enough, there's enough pattern of behavior that states that, you know what, you should probably do something about That's why I asked earlier. I said, so what would you do about it, Logic, when we were talking earlier? So I said, so what would you do about it? So it's like, yeah, I just find it weird that for us to say what would be considered common sense would mean that we're being immoral. I mean, is that pretty much what you were saying? Because you were saying that, you know what, morality is basically saying we don't need to do this. We're being moral.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That is
the does need to do that.
No, that's the communist interpretation in morality. Again, they've switched these words and placed morality above everything else. And what is morality? Well, morality is what we say it is. Right? Or what the communists say it is. Go ahead.
Hold on for a second. Hold on. Let me tackle one thing. Biggie Cheese says common sense would mean background checks.
I was going to say something about that too. But go ahead.
Biggie Cheese, have you ever obtained a firearm? If you have, then you know that you go through a state and a federal background check. Okay. So that's an old canard that I'm surprised people are still out. Oh, well, what about the gun show loophole? There is no gun show loophole. You've still got
hold on. The biggest dumb thing, like the gun points is when you're a Kool-Aid drinking partisan, that it's to be expected that they regurgitate talking points like background checks and nonsense like that, because that's all they know for the gun, because they don't own guns, so they don't know anything about it. But this one is my favorite. I like this one better. Communism had nothing to do with it. An American born and raised in America was writing in Cyrillic.
Yeah,
he learned because of his association through communism. No. Communism had nothing to do with it. His whole themology, ideology, and plotline had nothing to do with Marxist teachings that revolved around core ideologies of communism. No, you're right. Practical common sense. This is why they have no morality in their common sense reason. But again, I have one thing to point out. There's a dangerous historical precedent in this country, and we just don't talk about it because it's one of our favorite eras in American history. But the fact of the matter is there used to be guns everywhere in this country. Right. Every person carried a gun, and they had to outlaw that because we weren't responsible, because we started shooting each other all the time. And they passed gun. You had, not everybody, but you had groups of people who took advantage of armed, and you had the ordinances passed. Kansas City, all the Western cities had to pass that you couldn't carry guns inside town limits. Right, you had to be disarmed.
You're talking about the Old West, right?
Yeah, not just the Old West. It was also the Midwest and the South. But anywhere that they had mass carrying of firearms, that everyone was armed, you had issues eventually. Eventually, you ran into problems where ill-intentioned people took advantage of the fact that if more than one of them got together and they started shooting around, very few people were going to actually shoot back. And I'm just saying that, dude, you had problems, and it had to be addressed from a legal aspect in this country. So there is that historical precedent that people always seem to skip when we say we should just arm everyone, because we still don't believe in arming mentally ill people. You have to account for that. You yourself on this episode said they should change the form, that it should be more in depth so that you have a more detailed background. I'm just saying, like, there's still gatekeeping involved. So again, it's not just this willy-nilly arm everyone. It's a very slippery slope. And the reason why I'm making this distinction is because the communists know it, right? These people who have these Marxist ideologies, they understand what we have to compete against to keep our rights, and how easy it is to convince people to be afraid of letting us keep our rights. They use the complexity against us. That's what I'm trying to demonstrate.
I'm not in disagreement with you. But also understand that you made the case of, okay, like I said, you're right. People who are mentally ill, okay, are getting firearms. Right now, we need to do something to make that illegal. But at the same time,
I mean, technically, it is already illegal.
Well, no, the form actually says, if you've been adjudicated mentally defective, or they got two very specific conditions. And if you have never been treated or adjudicated for it, then the form doesn't apply. That's why the questions on the form don't apply. That's why I suggest that we need to get a little deeper with the question.
So let me get your response to this, Gimpy. Oh, not Gimpy. Soldiers. So let me pull this up real quick. I'm a Project 21 ambassador. So are some of the other Metro Conservative Media family members. Here, there's a quote from Evie Harris, a Project 21 ambassador. She says, "Ban all transgender procedures and transgender affirming programs for minors. Remove any funding from any institution that promotes trans affirmation. Arm all schools, churches, and other soft targets, just as government buildings have armed security even when they're closed. Transgenderism is a mental illness. Medical and psychiatric exploitation should fall under fraud, waste, and abuse statutes and should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." So I wanted to get your immediate take on that, Soldiers.
I agree with most of that. When it comes to arming the schools, that sounds good, right? But I will have to defer to Gimpy on this. When you put a firearm in someone's hand and entrust them, not to protect their home, right, but to protect a classroom full of kids, you've got to understand, and this person has to understand, what an awesome responsibility that is. Because once you pull the trigger, all bets are off, right? So that's a huge responsibility and a huge liability. Now, we're in an era where, hey, sure, you go to a school, the door's locked. You know, maybe you got to make an appointment to get into the school. Okay, and let me bring this up before it slips my mind. I'm all for a completely armed society, because if you're going to have criminals, okay, this guy that did this the other day, no law stopped him. No, he didn't think, well, what if I'm apprehended? Okay, murder is wrong. None of those laws stopped him, right? So I take the biblical approach, Luke 22:36, sell your cloak and buy a sword. All right. And if you look at the context of that, Jesus, everybody always said, what would Jesus do? Jesus was one. Okay. Jesus was telling the disciples, listen, things are about to get interesting, guys. Okay. Sell your cloak and buy a sword. That's what he said. People always say, what would Jesus do? So he would say, sell your cloak and buy a sword. And he would also fashion a bullwhip and start beating people in the temple to drive out the money changers. These things happen, right? So I'm all for those who want to. Again, if somebody doesn't want to carry a weapon or own a weapon, that's fine. But to the extent people do, I even think that non-violent felons who have paid their debt to society, no more parole, probation, no fines, should get their gun rights restored.
That's a hot take.
We got something right here, and I think it sounds like Gimpy is typing, but and he was, and just something popped up.
Sorry,
Biggie Cheese. It's okay. Says, how is America the only country in the world with a mass shooting problem? The reason
Poor Biggie.
Because let's go with that. Let's go with that. Okay, let's go with that. Because the United States is the only place in the world that has the largest mental illness problem. We have an issue that when it comes to freedom, or what that is, people don't understand how to live in that. People don't understand that, you know what, if you drink too much water, it'll kill you. You know, anything that's good for you, too much of, it'll end up killing you. And because we have so much freedom here, that, you know what, it just drives people absolutely insane. And it's really, really, really sad. To really fine tune that. Wow, that was loud. To really fine tune that, right? If you got rid of all of the guns in the United States, all of them, guess what we'd have? We'd have a stabbing problem. If you got rid of all of the knives in the United States, guess what we'd have? We'd have a blunt forced trauma problem with baseball bats or whatever. It
London is having that
absolutely
problem
nothing to
right
do
now.
with the guns itself. It has to do with the fact that the people who have them have them. You know, that's it.
Yeah, but again, it just gets much more slippery a slope. I was sitting here thinking.
Cool. But I think KJ said it correctly on Poppin' Politics Wednesday night. She rattled off about 20 different people this year that were mass shooters, and the majority of them were transgender.
So we're going to dig into that. But shout out to Kung Fu. Shout out to Kung Fu CJ with the $2 super chat. Tyrone talk about me. Shout out to Kung Fu, another $5 super chat. The AR for civilians shoots 223s. The military shoots the 5.56.
He corrected later.
Yeah, and then I think he said what up guys at the beginning. So $2 super chat. And Kung Fu is also a member of the Shamers Club. You can support the show. Again, we're bringing back shame. You can support the show. $5 a month to support us, keep us on air. And if you like this content, man, let us know in the comments. You want to see more deep dives into this, the communist playbook. Again, we're here to bring back shame, and we're exposing it. So let's. I want to actually go to the next point because you guys are starting to allude to it.
I don't know. I'm not going to let Biggie off with this. He's putting stuff out there that's not true.
No.
Biggie said that the United States of America is the only nation with a mass shooting problem. Biggie, just this year, Sweden. Who the hell thinks of a mass shooting when they think of Sweden? Sweden had a mass shooting this year. 11 people gone. Okay. Biggie, look, you gotta turn MSNBC off. Okay, it's not even really a network anymore. Okay,
that guy is not Jet.
Okay? You've got to expand. You've got to expand your knowledge on these things. Every point you've raised tonight has been refuted.
But we're going to dig deeper into it because, again, if we're not looking to attack the source of the problem, we really don't want to solve it, right? These things are symptoms: mass shootings, mass stabbings. This level of chaos we're seeing are symptoms of a deeper issue. And again, I believe these are rooted in the aim of communism, which again is to destroy the family unit, to destroy the country, to discredit the American founding, to destroy the Bible, Christianity, to destroy Judaism. Like, communism is rooted in anti-religious beliefs, right? So we're going to pull up this next one here. Go ahead, it's here. So, emphasize the need to raise children away from negative influence of parents. I want you guys to note how that is described. Negative influence of parents. Attribute prejudices, mental blocks, and retarding of children to suppressive influence of parents. So Reason, can you go ahead and play clip number 2?
Copy.
I'm an elementary school teacher, and I work to make all of my students become transgender. As an educator, it is my responsibility to form the next generation of world leaders, and I believe that the future of our world rests in the hands of trans youth. At the beginning of every morning, we recite our Down with the System pledge, study trans history, and practice using pronouns that are different than the ones that were assigned to us at birth. If any student ever misgenders another student or refers to themselves as cisgender, they are held back from recess and given additional transgender lessons.
Wow.
Who wants to go first?
Gimpy, take it.
I'm going to jail. Excuse me, folks. I have some things to settle with the universe, like purging that with fire. Yeah, dude, this is what I mean. This is why you can't arm them. Like, you literally proved my point from earlier. Like, literally, this is what I mean. Like, I don't know. I feel even you, sir, have this disassociative problem, Logic. In the beginning, you're talking about how they infiltrate at many levels. Literally, I'm going to use some of the We Was Kings language. The 9 pillars of society are completely infiltrated by the cultural Marxist in America. All of it. And the reality is you have to build something new. You want to get rid of it. That doesn't allow them to infect it. Otherwise,
that's what I keep saying.
You have your own. Yeah, you have the right idea, but I think everyone has a wrong idea of how we are at the point the buildings are burning, folks. Like, that's what it is. If this guy doesn't worry about his job, that parents are going to come in an uproar, you're trying to trans my kid and can just post it to the internet with no fear. Dude, the buildings are burning down. That's what that means. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, how does he have a job still? Where's libs of TikTok?
I mean, but that's the NEA and the teachers union. They protect these guys.
And you
They're
got to
also-
get
what
rid of
have you?
all of that. You have to get rid of all of that. That's
Reason.
the thing. So this is what I've been trying to say all night, because like I'm trying to stay on topic. But my biggest problem is you talk solutions. You know what the solution is? Tyranny. The only answer to all the problems all at once is Tyrannistan.
Darth Gimpy.
I'm sorry, but like that's what you want. You want a magical world where everyone's going to behave with high moral character and going to express positivity and wonderful vibes to each other, even in the hardest and most difficult circumstances, because that's what it takes to maintain all of this stuff without falling into the trap of victimhood.
Now, I don't think we
So
need
like,
to be
otherwise you got to enforce it. Otherwise, you got to make sure that people are. That's what China does. That's why they have a productive reason. They have a social credit system, dude. That's why people behave there, because their face ends up on a goddamn billboard. They don't. Shame is everywhere. You talk about shame. That's where it ends. It ends with public shaming.
Let's look at an era of American history that a lot of people don't want to admit was right. McCarthyism. Okay,
yeah, dude,
we don't need to go. We don't need to go. We don't need to go full tyranny. But McCarthy was right. There were communists everywhere. Okay, and they shut him down and made that whole hunt verboten. Okay, but I worked with a guy who came over, and this was when I was a lobbyist. He came over into our shop from the State Department. And he was introduced to me like this. I'm walking through the hallway, and a colleague says, "Hey, Tyrone, I want to introduce you to Peter. Peter's coming over from the State Department where he was hunting the communists." And the guy looked at me and said, "Oh, they're there." And he was dead serious, okay?
The dude in '86 gave that whole speech, the guy who defected from the USSR, the scientist.
I remember him, right.
Dude, I just want to point out, before we got old, when we were kids, well, maybe not you because you were too young, Logic, but the rest of us should have been old enough. Me and you for sure, Soldiers, should have. No, you're the same age as me, Chad. So all three of us should have old enough to remember that when communism fell, the biggest conspiracy theory the nut job tinfoil hat people used to run is it didn't fall. It just allowed the country to, and now it's no longer, it's an ideology moving to the West that doesn't need that. They allowed the Soviet Union to fall so that all the communists can immigrate to America. Right, like that, they had open asylum for Russian, USSR citizens after, and that was all the idea, is that it never really fell because there's still all this communist influence back in Russia. Like that was the conspiracy theory back then, right after the end of communism. So dude, this has been happening since day one. There's been people calling it out. We're just really late in the game. I mean, when you have a guy like Mamdani that like we're all taking a sigh of relief that Cuomo got ahead of him in one poll.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like one poll, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, okay. The world's like, dude, when we're that close to electing a guy who's saying globalize the Intifada, remember, it's not about the Jews part I'm talking about. Forget about that part. It's the part where they say death to America.
Yeah.
Intifada is not just for, it's also for here. They want to, and we're about to elect for one of the biggest cities on earth, one of the most important cities on earth, a guy who wants to burn the country down.
Absolutely. Right.
Like,
right.
Reason, I want you to get in here, man, because we played the clip and you've been having your head down pretty much the entire time.
I'm sorry.
You saw this, this saying they want to turn all your kids trans. What is your response to that?
There are two places for people like that. One of them is Alaska, and the other is Tyrannistan. I believe those two places can change the mindset of people. I think if you drop some people off in the middle of Alaska, they will come back a different person, or they won't come back. If you drop them off in Tyrannistan, ladies and gentlemen, have you guys ever been to Tyrannistan? Let me tell you how this works.
I just like to point out Siberia is excellent in the winters. Excellent.
Yes, but
I mean, that's what you're saying. I'm just trying to show the mirror, like, this is what I mean. The end is tyranny. The answer is you have to enforce the right thing.
Look,
this is what we're all going to skirt around. This is the problem. This is why they win, because they're not afraid of the answer. No, I'm sorry.
I wasn't going to skirt on that.
No, not you. I'm saying, and I don't mean to jump in, but like for everyone, like this is the problem. We on the conservative side were so worried about preserving freedom when our enemies want to destroy it into a million pieces. So they already have a massive advantage because at the end, they're okay with tyranny where we're not. So we have to find these happy mediums where we get what we, but you can't really get what we need without some sort of tyranny.
Well, I'm gonna let Reason finish. But
I'll be quick.
I just want to illuminate something he said about Tyrannistan. We follow Augusto Pinochet's free helicopter tour model. Okay, every communist, Marxist, socialist, they get a free helicopter ride. The first one's free in Tyrannistan.
You know what? I'm glad I haven't experienced that, but you know what I have experienced in Tyrannistan? There's no litter. The place is inordinately clean. I mean, S-Files will tell you about it. I was walking through Tyrannistan just the other day, and I just thought about the fact that, man, it's so peaceful. Do you know why? Because if you do stupid shit happens to you in Tyrannistan. Tyrannistan is one of those beautiful, spare the rod, hates his son type places. Tyrannistan is a place that the people understand that if you do something stupid, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And because of that, it is a peaceful and benevolent dictatorship that is just well placed, put together. I mean, I'm telling you, a proud citizen of the state of Tyrannistan right here. There we go. And it got that thick bacon in Tyrannistan that JT just said himself. There we go. That's it.
And I heard that Trump has a deportation agreement for the thick booty Latinas to be sent to Tyrannistan. So we're benefiting from American deportation policy.
There we go.
I just sent you something, Logic. Put that up when you get it, please.
Where'd you send it?
Send it to the Facebook chat.
But like, look, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to point out that the reality is without enforcement, you have nothing. And this game that, like, these libertarians, for example, want to play where you can't have any government, right? Like, they're just anarchists. Like, most people who want to limit the strength of government from reasonable means, whether they're left or right, they're just looking for the end. They don't have any good intention because technically government is the rein we use to control all these outcomes. And whatever we all come up with is the happy medium in society. You still need an enforcement arm. And the fact that our society has like almost no enforcement in it. Like,
yeah, if I can, because the Knight just put something up that said True Gimpy, the hard call is to be the bad guy. Dad basically has to come home and set the house in order. The Knight, thank you for the $5 super chat. We truly appreciate you. But you guys are both 100% right. The only way that things truly get fixed is by force. Force doctrine's incredible.
Dude, I'm a Saddam Hussein guy.
Yeah.
I'll have all them out. We start announcing names. You got to stand up and come into the other room, and I'll keep you there for days, wondering if it's going to be. You heard about what Saddam Hussein used to do to people, man. Like that, dude. You got to run your country. Those guys stayed in power until America fucked with them.
I said on what was it, Christian Conservative the other night, I am pro-life, but I'm pro-death as well.
I'm sorry, Axolotl says
Axolotl. You got to say it right. Axolotl
says, do you think free will is not realistic in today's world? No, free will is definitely something that I believe. I believe we have free will. I don't. It's complicated. I actually believe in a combination of predestination on certain issues, but for the majority, we do have free will. But speaking of Alaska, you always have the opportunity to separate yourself from society if you don't want to live within the rubric of our set of rules. Plenty of people have done it. Okay. But I cannot jump in a car and drive at 95 miles an hour down 83. Okay. So there are a lot of rules in society that if we're going to live with hundreds of thousands, millions of people, billions of people, okay, then we're going to have to understand that there's some subordination to the greater good. Okay. Tyranny, I think that's antithetical to free will, because my free will does not allow me morally. Okay. I don't get a moral pass if I use free will as the justification for violating someone else's rights. Okay. So I do think, now I agree with Gimpy in that, yeah, there need, he brought up Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein, he used to have this thing with the military where at like 2 a.m. he would send some guy into the barracks of some military base, right? And the guy would come in and say, it's happening. They've overthrown Saddam. And anybody who got up, it was like, yeah. And, you know, made a move to go join this fake revolution, they took him out. Okay. So yeah, that lacks a lot of due process, but at the same time, and I'm not a Saddam Hussein fan, but you know, there's a reason why we can't understand why the strong man works in the Middle East. Okay. It's a dangerous part of town. And it doesn't lend itself. We're not talking about, well, we're going over to Iraq we're going to instill democracy. The hell you are. That's not how it flourished here. Okay. You can't instill democracy at the point of a gun. That is antithetical to the concept. So I do think that America has lost its way in terms of, look, that old stuff we used to see with, I mentioned McCarthy, George S. Patton, General MacArthur, all of them recognized the threat of communism. Okay. Patton ended up dying in mysterious circumstances. I know it was a car accident, but it was like, damn. Okay. Slow speed car accident, paralyzed, and eventually took him out. MacArthur, they made him irrelevant. You saw what they did, discrediting McCarthy. Think about how McCarthy approached Hollywood, and now look at what Hollywood is today in terms of their messaging.
But I think that's the point, right? Is that when you look at and evaluate these communist goals, you can kind of see clear as day what the objectives are, what really the battle that we're facing. The problem is that we're not looking at who the enemy is, and we're looking at the symptoms, right? So this shooter in Minneapolis was a symptom of what's going on from this communist infiltration, which has been happening for years. When you're telling kids that don't listen to your parents, when you're saying the foundation of this country doesn't matter, which was built on freedom and morality, and having, the Constitution is irrelevant to anyone that's immoral, right? And you have then the communists infiltrating the education system, these defund the police movements. Like, that is what made way for this transgender shooter to exist. And instead of, and you guys are right when you were saying, we have to, not, I don't say like burn it all down, but it's where we are to the point where this communist influence has been deep rooted and deep seated, that we have to build something else. And I think we need to chop this communist tree down as well. But man, this really pissed me off this week, because when you really start seeing this stuff, to me, it's clear as day. The communists have the plan, the long plan, and we're so caught up now as people in consumerism and right nowism that we don't see these things. So that's getting off my little soapbox there, but communism is I think the biggest issue and the biggest threat to the country right now.
With what happened with that guy, I think that happened before communism even got to him. When I heard that his was it his mother that took him to get his name changed?
That's communism, bro. When,
Right.
Great. I mean, fine. But what I'm getting at is we have to. It's parenting or lack thereof. It's the fact that somehow this dude was able to get a gun legally. Interestingly enough, all of these, yeah, it's communism. But what I'm getting at is these people might not necessarily know. These parents might not necessarily know it's communism or it's not. They just know. I just know that they don't think they're making bad decisions.
So let me say this:
really,
one kind of strategy that you can use in a war is to create the illusion of chaos, right? Is attack from different angles, right? So while we have one group fighting transgenderism, we have another group fighting the schools, we have another group fighting taxes or whatever, right? Guns. And what it does is diverts attention again to the symptoms of an issue versus the cause and the root of an issue, right? When we really examine like this Minnesota school shooting, what are the people saying? Like the left is saying we need more gun laws. We need more gun laws when, according to Everytown for Gun Safety, Minnesota has the 14th strictest laws in the country, right? So they're pushing more and more of the communist agenda incrementally by these acts, and instead of fighting communism, we're now campaigning against gun. We need to keep our rights to guns. No, we need to keep America free. That is what we're fighting against. Go ahead, Gimpy.
I say this with all respect. Become a warlord, raise an army, and finally do what you need to do then. Because if you think about it rationally and you take the time to see it to its logical conclusion, in order to achieve what you want, you have to return to the system that used to exist. Because they're still fighting in the 20th century system where ideologies can form political bodies and military wings and take on revolutionary stances, where we're fighting in a 21st century format where we're just addressing politically each individual aspect that we dislike about our lives. Instead, you have to form a consolidated group, organize it, administrate it, politicize it, militarize it, have just like all they do in the Middle East, just like every single, it's the same format. It's the communist format of what, like Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Authority, Islamic Jihad, all of them. It's the same format that's going on with Trantifa, right? The Antifa militant wing, the political wing of the far left of the party. They hold seats in the government to try and usurp power with minority rule. I'm just pointing out, like, these things aren't like, then you have to, somebody has to, that's how you win. Somebody gets together, becomes the warlord, raises the army, and puts a stop to it once and for all, and stops playing games.
That is one way, but we have not seen. You take the Soviet Union, for example. That fell due to primarily economic pressure. That wasn't a war. And I know they had the little thing where they drove a tank into Moscow and threatened the Duma at one point. But
one mic, you guys.
I know they had that incident where they, went at Yeltsin and threatened the Duma at one point. But that was not a full-scale military conflict. And we saw, as a result, the Soviet Union fall without a war.
That is so, dude.
Gimpy,
they are not. Hold on.
Maybe I missed something, but hold on, Gimpy. Let me just ask you a question. Since you're answering it, let me ask you a question. Maybe I fell asleep in the late 80s, early 90s. But did I miss a war?
Yeah, first of all, we funded the Afghans in the Afghan war to keep the Soviet Union fighting. That's how the Taliban comes into existence, and the Northern Alliance and the whole nonsense that's the modern Afghanistan is something we created by fighting communism.
I'm well aware of that.
Okay, so that's one. So there was plenty of hot war involved in toppling the Soviet Union.
The Soviet Union fell. You just proved it.
Spent a bucket load of money to intervene.
Economic pressure, like I said.
Again, so the difference is they're not an entity like that. They're a revolutionary guerrilla army trying to earn political sway within the existing structure to knock it down, while they have a militant wing running around our streets, burning it down every chance they get.
And I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you.
So how are you supposed to use the United States' vast economic resources to shut them down when they're already running parts of it? And B, we are not organized enough to impact them in a Cold War method. You would have to actively engage them to stop them at this point.
What I think needs to happen is something that we may not have even seen before, because militarily, we're not at the point just yet where we'll have fractures in the U.S. military sufficient enough to militarily bolster some, opposition group. We're not there yet. And again, I mean, we did see that primarily pressure from within, economic pressure, is what led to the collapse of the Soviet Empire, not force of arms. That was not what we saw happen inside the Soviet Union. Yes, you're right. America funded the Mujahideen, and they got the Soviets got bogged down in Afghanistan, just like the British, just like Alexander the Great, just like we did. Okay, that is true. But to the extent that they had a first world military and a third world economy is what eventually led to, they just couldn't sustain it. But we're here with the world's reserve currency, a blank check basically for now. Okay. So when you talk about doing this through, some force of arms, I see that being very ineffective and short-lived.
Again, they are not an entity the way you're describing the Soviet Union. Your thinking is short-sighted, thinking you can attack them at that level of a problem. They're not a body or a nation. They're a guerrilla force infiltrating inside the system to break it down from within. And they're hyper effective at it because they've been doing it a long time and they have long money. Even with US aid being messed up, they still have long money. It's coming back. They're finding new ways to funnel it to them.
You're right.
But at the end of the day, you're talking about nations confronting each other. I'm talking about we as American citizens have a problem within our own country that if we leave it to the government, you're not going to get the results. You're going to keep getting more of the same because they get paid to maintain more of the same till it's a one world order, whether they want it or not, because whether they're controlled opposition, they're all getting rich off of playing this game. And the game is bigger.
So let me ask, because
I don't disagree with anything you just
stop
said.
the Antifa? How do you stop the militant wing in the street?
I
How
got
do you stop the activists that are politicizing
we agree.
it?
I don't disagree with anything you just said. I think you're spot on. All I'm suggesting, you kind of alluded to it, is that what we're going to actually need is some sort of hybrid form of resistance that we heretofore may not have seen.
So let me ask, when did we become so dependent upon the government? Because if we understand American history and the founding and all those things, it was less about government and more about the people. So movements like communism or these things that we're seeing rise up today were less of a threat because government wasn't the center of everything. People were the center of everything.
See,
okay, well, go ahead.
No, dude, I'm sorry. These things, easy access, first of all, can't spell, but easy access to guns. It's not true, dude. You have to get a background check, all the things you rambled on. It's like the mind infection is.
Right.
All right. Let's move on. All right. So you guys got a few more minutes?
Yeah, go for it.
I got to check with Reason because Reason be having.
Well, man, MI6, they got a lot of demands on this time, man.
Yeah.
Communism in the Soviet Union fell for a multitude of reasons, and
I agree.
billions of dollars of investment of Western countries, right? It's not this simple. They had a bad economy because during the stagnation period, they had a shit economy and they were keeping up with the United States every step of the way. So It doesn't.
We agree on that, but again, my supposition is economic pressure. Now that umbrella has a lot of different facets within it. You just named some. Okay, so Gimpy, we agree.
All right, so we agree. All right, let's move on.
Sorry.
All right. All right. I do want to continue, and I encourage everyone to check out the 45 communist goals that were read into the congressional record from the book Naked Communists, and they were read into the congressional record back in 1963. But continuing with that, just a couple of weeks ago, or not even about a week and a half ago, again, Trump has been going after the Smithsonian because American history seems to have changed over the years. But there's also a communist goal to kind of correspond with that, which is the number 31, which is belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teaching of American history on the ground that it was only minor part of the big picture. And along with that is a sense of division that is constantly placed in American history, and that is on the subject of slavery. Now, Armstrong Williams is the I guess the owner of HSH. I forgot the name, what it means. But he's also part owner of the Baltimore Sun here in Baltimore. And he wrote an opinion piece in his newspaper regarding what Trump has been doing to address history in the Smithsonian museums. Now it says, now African Americans actually first came to the United States in large numbers through the slave trade. Their history in America, which is what the museum focuses on, is about everything they've gone through and accomplished. So it only makes sense that one of the most horrific moments in their history in America, literally the beginning of it too, is spoken about in detail. And part of this is it's kind of sad to see how much history we really ignore. Now, slavery existed in America. I don't think anybody is refuting that point, right? But it was there were a lot of free blacks. And as a matter of fact, I would recommend everybody checking out, Dave Barton from Wall Builders. Actually, I do want to play a little bit of what he had to say about the subject and the way it's being presented now. So I'm play this little clip here.
So we understand now, in light of all this that you're saying, what the importance of revisionist history is, or the erasure of history, and what can be achieved when you erase history.
One of the great examples is in 1902, a famous history book came out. It was called The People's History of the United States, or the History of the American People, excuse me. The History of the American People is by Woodrow Wilson. At that time, he was a professor at 3 different universities.
He's been canceled, by the way.
He's been canceled. He needs to be. We have that 5-volume set, and in that 5-volume set, there is not a single black person mentioned in his volume set, not even Frederick Douglass, who's photographed more often than Abraham Lincoln. So all the black patriots are gone. He canceled every black patriot. Academics love his book because he's the president of Princeton University. How smart is he? And so they picked up a book that is racist inherently. And as a result,
he was heretical to the foundations of Princeton University.
He was heretical. He's the first non-clergyman at Princeton, and he is open, hardcore racist. And he called for the abolition of the Declaration of Independence. He said, we got to get away from that. We got to get away from all men are created equal. Yeah, because he's the guy who helped bring back the second revival of the Klan. That's where our history got changed in the 20th century, and we don't even know it.
So, guys, first thoughts on this. Soldiers, I see you kind of nodding your head. Woodrow Wilson, former president of Princeton University and later become president of the United States, who then helped form the U.S. education system and what things are taught. They created this revisionist history that did, quote unquote, delete a lot of black people. And now the only history that blacks and whites and everyone, the culture seems to think about is blacks were slaves. So what are your thoughts, man?
Oh no, Woodrow Wilson. I have said this before on the platform. I have read at least one biography on every president except Trump and Biden. Now, if you count The Art of the Deal and The Art of the Comeback, I have read those. But Woodrow Wilson and the reason I'm saying this is because in my estimation, I always laugh when people say, oh, Trump's the worst president, Biden's the worst president, Obama's the worst president. Again, Americans with their history started the day I was born mindset. The worst president in the history of the United States of America is Woodrow Wilson. He tried to go back and actually erase, and he did in many cases, a lot of the progress that was made on racial issues. For example, did you know that he resegregated the civil service? Okay. So the civil service was already integrated. There were blacks working throughout the federal government, and he came in and he resegregated it, got rid of them all. Okay. Wholesale. He screened the racist movie Birth of a Nation inside the White House, and then went on to say how accurate it was. But more insidious, he had a plan that he instituted that, again, set the nation back racially speaking, and also created an image of Black America that in many instances it is still with us today, that cast Black people first as oppressed, okay, as little children that need to be patted on the head and, you know, given the great society programs, welfare benefits, and, you know, you people are just not smart enough to do it on your own. And I'm telling you, that mindset took root in the decades since he did all that. And here we are with Blacks in DC saying that they don't want safe neighborhoods, okay, advocating on behalf of criminals. Okay, you got a poisonous entertainment genre in hip hop, okay, reinforcing the narrative that it is a rite of passage to go to prison, okay. And I'm not, Wilson was one key figure in doing this, but a lot of Blacks also then started to participate in the degradation of our ethnicity.
So, Reason, what is the risk of not knowing history or having a false assumption of what your history is? You're muted.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely terrible. I think we have a society today in which free thinkers are criticized and condemned. I think you should always take the time to look back, challenge absolutely everything, whether it's from what you read in the Bible to, you know, what people are telling you. People just don't want people to understand that, you know what, there were some weird things that might have taken place in the past, things that you agree with, things that you disagree with. I just despise the fact that, you know what, people can just say things and people just believe them. You know, the only thing I believe that people say, quite frankly, is what they say something the only thing that I believe that people say are when they say something about themselves. If they say what they are, believe them. But outside of that, you know, anything that's you have to be able to do the research on stuff. You have to. You can't just believe everything you're told. It's ridiculous. It's terrible. People will lie to you. Over time, the lie becomes the truth. A lie told long enough will eventually become the truth.
So Gimpy, when you see this revisionist history, man, how do you respond to this? What is the risk? And what do you see? How do you respond to that Tim Barton clip or David Barton clip? I'm sorry.
You mean the 1619 Project revisionist history? I mean, like, that's some bullshit. I listened to these dudes cry and complain. It's garbage. Yes, when Woodrow Wilson wrote those books, the white supremacy people at the time tried to change things. They got him into power, and he did some horrible things in this country. Fine, but they never erased slavery from people's curriculum. Never got erased here. I'm sorry, no matter how hard they tried, they never killed your people's flame to persevere, because eventually you continued to push till you got civil rights, right? Like, if they were able to succeed at what everybody's talking about, then there'd be none of what happened. So that whole thing is hysterical because all sides try and change the story to suit their narrative. That would be the first problem. And second of all, is like there was never a time that I remember in my lifetime or my siblings' lifetime who are older than me, and even in my parents' lifetime, where you weren't taught about slavery, and slavery wasn't a focus, and fighting for rights and believing in that wasn't something that was constantly being infected into the school system, even in the 50s, that everybody thinks was so one-sided. It wasn't.
I
mean, you had people like Frank Sinatra, for example, making sure that black and brown performers got indoors that they would never have gotten. I mean, it was always happening from the very beginning. There were influential allies all along the way, and this battle is the battle that constantly goes on. And yes, there are times where one side is ahead or the other, and right now the people who feed the racial tensions in this country are at the top of the pile. That's just what's going on.
So I want you our next thing, we're doing a little bit of experiment here, and bear with me, but I actually want to listen to the words of a former slave, which I think are very, very, powerful. And I actually want to do a series on this, because even if you do study slavery and study the voices of slavery, even if you wanted to focus on slavery, there's a lot more pro-America elements of it that you find than what we're even taught about what slavery is. So I have here, we're going to listen to Mr. George Johnson of the Mound Bayou, who was a former slave of the infamous Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederacy. Now, we know Jefferson Davis's statues during the George Floyd era was taken down. But, when in war, I think it was, I forget which president it was, but commented positively, even from the Union side, commented positively about Jefferson Davis because of the resilience, because of what he represented as a general. But he was a slave owner, and I'm not sitting here trying to advocate for him, but let's listen to what history actually says about him. And this was a former slave of Mr. Jefferson Davis. So I'm gonna play this. Some of it's kind of hard to hear because it's a recording from the early 1900s, and and the dialect is a little bit different. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this. And I got this from the Library of Congress, so you can see this and view this at your leisure as well. I am going to put in the show notes, and like I did last week, I am going to put the show notes in the description of the video, so you can download this and view this for yourself. So we're going to go ahead and play this, and let me know if you guys can hear it.
From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Well, Mr. Johnson, we're going to start off. All right. I want you to tell me how you got your name. I got my name from President Jeff Davis, President of the Southern Confederacy. He owned my grandfather and my father. He brought them from Richmond, Virginia. My grandfather was a blacksmith. My father was a young kid, wasn't grown. And my father had learned how to write a little bit in Richmond, Virginia before he brought him down there. Grandpa used to keep chalk in his shop to mark the other things. And my father took a piece and put it in his pocket and passed in front of Master Jeff's house. He ran on the sidewalk. And so one morning, Master Jeff come by and saw that right on the walk. He go back and asked the cook, me Eliza. He's right on the sidewalk. Who right out there? He said, I don't know, Master Jeff. They come out there, I'll show you I can read. So he read it. He said, me Eliza, if you can find whoever might walk out there, I can't learn to store and give you a pretty dress. She said, yes, Master Jeff. So one morning, she's out putting out some dishwater. And she cleaned out the dish pan and she looked down and saw my father down with me right on the sidewalk. She told Master Jeff. Master Jeff's son from the boy come to the shop, come to the house, and asked him to learn him how to write. Yeah, Master Jeff, I learned how to write. Listen to me, little white boy learned how to write. Before he went down here. He did, yes. He gave him pencil. He said, write my name. My father's name is here. He called Mike. Write my name. He wrote Jeff Davis' name. He wrote Joe Davis. He wrote Joe Davis. He wrote Vicksburg. He wrote Vicksburg. He said, I got good night for you. And Sam went back to the shop, and Mark Jeff's son to Richmond, Virginia, he got 2 teachers. He opened a night school. Educate all these niggas. He made my father a civil engineer. And they made Conniving and Montgomery as bookkeeper. And on, they made different ones, farmers, carpenters, sawmills, gins, all like that. That's the victim of my father and Conniving and Montgomery. Conniving was born Daisy, man. He was born on Hurricane Plantation. Just giant piece of Briarfield. I was born on Briarfield. Boss Jeff had 5 plantations over there. Hurricane, Briarfield, Hurricane, Palmyra, and Lake Place. It all belonged to Boss Jeff. And had all those niggas from different places, all the parents to come back to school, night school. He give them all a farm education. When they all got free, they could take care of themselves.
So this is Jefferson Davis's slave talking about how he trained up his slaves. Am I misinterpreting that?
No.
No.
But dude, that's the Sound of Music. No, sorry. Gone with the Wind. Right? Isn't that the one that's the down south during the Civil War? Yeah, it's Gone with the Wind, that book. Like, dude, they all try and belittle the stuff that's American, like classic Americana that's supposed to represent this sort of view of slavery. So like Gone with the Wind is considered whatever the right phrase is, not PC, I guess, or whatever, because it features slavery like this, because the main characters who are slave owners are good to their slaves and have good relationships with them throughout the course of the book. So I'm just saying, like, dude, the 1619 people, they have tried to kill every aspect of history that reflects this mentality on slave. I mean,
don't get me wrong, this is very convincing. I mean, I remember those days, I was in I call it my neo soul phase, and I still like neo soul music and things like that. But when you listen to the lyrics of neo soul, the Jill Scotts, Raheem DeVons, all those people, you kind of get this. You can fall into the emotion, the emotionalism of the movement, the pro-black thing, and it's very convincing and compelling. So I don't know. It's a lot, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep playing this, but I'm just kind of point of clarity here. I did edit part of this so that it doesn't exactly match the transcript, and what I did was edited the parts where they were doing this announcement. I did leave bits of it in, but I didn't want to take up the time with this particular AFC announcement.
Welcome to the American Folk Life Center's podcast series, Voices from the Days of Slavery, Stories, Songs, and Memories. Drawn from the unique collections of the Center's archive, the series presents first-person accounts of African Americans whose experiences span the last years of slavery. In this interview from 1941, Mr. George Johnson of Mound Bayou, Mississippi, shares memories of slavery times, including his relationship with Jefferson Davis, President of the Confederacy. The interviewers are Charles Johnson, Lewis Jones, John Work, Elizabeth and Alan Lomack.
So, guys, just stop me when if you got something to say. So, yeah.
It was mine. Obey. Your boy is gone. He obeyed Boss Jeff. Once Boss Jeff was going to land in the boogie, in the hack, the gate was locked. The same old man I tell you about, old man Jack Rainey. He got to the gate. He said, Boss Jeff, this gate's locked. He said, well, Jack, it's locked. It's my gate. Break it down. It's my gate. Some of the boy picked it up. And Jack gets break down the gate. You fence down. And go on from there. And the wagon on behind, you understand, with the band, cams and land. And when they come back, put the fence up. That's the original Boss Jeff and his Negro. And when they met his Negro on the road, first thing Boss Jeff was looking at and seeing his hat turn. And everyone give him the same thing back. Give him honor. And he on a pass there one day on Lake Place. He told Mr. Covion, said, Mr. Covion, I'm going home tomorrow. Said, don't forget to feed my niggas. And they get to by the cups. Let them be with them cut cordwood. But don't disturb them. I want them undisturbed. If anything happens to any of my niggas, you wait to see Mr. Davis. Don't forget I'm Mr. Davis. See, my nigga is my summer shade. He's my winter fire. He's my umbrella.
I want to.
Hold on. Don't you wish Wes Moore and Brandon Scott and all them treated they Negroes like this?
Look, you gotta also listen to this with the understanding that there is a heavy degree of Stockholm syndrome in here. Okay. This is all this man knew. Okay. And, getting fed, getting housed, that sort of thing. We got to be careful because we don't want to come out of this with the Disney Song of the South romanticized, view of, yeah, great. You made him your bookkeeper. Did you pay him? Okay, because that's just another form of slavery if you didn't. Okay. So it's interesting because this individual telling the story, all this man knew was bondage.
Yep.
Okay, up until well into his life. And if we go by,
but he's like 60 now. He's been free for 20 or something years.
Right. But I was gonna let me address that. If we go by what Sigmund Freud has said, by 8 years old, you are pretty much who you're going to be. So I think it's pretty clear that he was a slave beyond the age of 8.
Yeah. So, Kurt Johnson, can you explain what Stockholm syndrome is?
Well, just briefly, Kurt, it's when the captive starts to empathize with the captor. And who was the woman? Was it Patty? I think it was Patty Hearst. Okay, got kidnapped and heirs to the Hearst broadcasting fortune. She demonstrated a deep sympathy toward her captors after a certain amount of time had passed. So just look at the Patty Hearst case, and that's a real world example of some real Stockholm syndrome.
Right, so let's keep going. All right, let's keep going. I think you might find some of the rest of this interesting.
Well, before we go, it's not fair. See, what you did is a very mild version of what I was talking about. You're trying to minimize, you're on the road to where then they presented that and again, I'm not standing up for slavery because that's not what it is. I'm trying to find the truth in the middle of the universe, right? Where the clarity. Not every slave owner was abusing and beating and being an awful, horrible, so that this generational hate that all white people are because this gets back to, I wanted to say this earlier, because that's what he's trying to change in the Smithsonian Trump. He's removing the white guilt part of the lesson. He's not getting rid of the black educational part of it. He's trying to remove the part where it's you should feel ashamed for all generations for this lesson that's tied into that. These are white culture. Being on time is white culture.
Right.
Like shit like that. That's what it's so that's what I'm trying to say is I'm not saying that Jefferson Davis was a good man and his slave owning is okay. I'm saying that just look, these people, all they knew was bondage, and he didn't have anything horrible to say when given the chance, right? He had the opportunity where he could have said he beat me and he was a terrible human.
But he doesn't have to beat you. Holding you in captivity.
Slavery in itself is wrong.
That's enough.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what
I'm saying. It's not a pass. I'm just saying what the evidence provides, right? He's saying listen to it. Is this guy has an opportunity? He could say he beat us, he made us do horrible things, and he gave us education, is what he talked about. He gave us that when we were free, we could do things with our lives. Again, not saying that makes it okay. I'm just pointing out that this is what it is. Slavery in America isn't simple.
Yeah, but and what we're taught about slavery is they kept me from reading and writing, right? And he's explaining that I learned to write while I was in slavery, or I learned to read while I was in slavery.
Yeah, but the way
and that was situational. That certainly was not the experience of all slaves. Because
of course not.
Frederick Douglass's experience, it was very different.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. But that's what I'm saying. Like, from a historical perspective, we only look at one side of the story as gospel, right? And I think instead of you can recognize the evils, but also recognize that there were some different experiences that were had during the slavery period, right? That's all I'm saying, right? It's nothing deeper than that, right?
It's more complex.
But what I'm saying is we shouldn't have an attachment to a particular thing, especially when we're looking at something that we've never experienced and as a country have overcome. Is what I'm saying. All right, so let's keep going.
If we want to overcome it, we have to admit
how Isaac T. Montgomery's father saved the plantation during the Civil War for him. Yes, well, when the Yankees was coming south to look after those places down there, rob somebody. I'm being sealed. I'm being meant to Ole Miss beside me, his wife. Ole Miss, I'm got to go to Richmond, got 2 months there. You don't see much there for Ben. So I got to see him. From seeing no Miss, you can't do no good. I won't see you. I want to see Mars Jeff. I want a passport. Tell me Richmond to see Mars Jeff. So they give him Ben the passport. If I want Richmond, you got some bread in the sack. If I want Richmond, you got on the costume by even. I want this bread. I want Richmond to make Mars Jeff. I want to go. Who's that? Come in. Walk in there. Hi, Mars Jeff. Hey, Ben, you doing here? I come here to see you, Mars Jeff. The Ben sit down and tell me all you know. How everybody doing? Everybody well, Mars Jeff, but somebody come to see you, bro. What is it, Ben? The Mars Jeff? The Yankees coming south, near Vicksburg, they coming down south, getting our white folks land, and robbing the niggas, stealing all the mules, and then pursue at Davis land. That's what I want you to do. Say, what is it, Ben? I want you to deed the land to me, so I'll have it. He said, Ben, I'm going to go good. And don't you know me, the land's mine, you mine, look out, that's going to go good. Yes, he will do, Master. He will do. How you know? Say, Master, can't you free me? Say, my God, free me, man. Master, he'll hear that. Ben, you right. So he took him Ben up to San Hedron coast and deed the land to him and freed him and made notes, so many notes unpaid, you understand? And 3, 4 unpaid and sent him back home. And when the Yankees got down to the Ben out home there, the Yankees come, you understand, and asked Davis' land, Davis' farm. Davis ain't got no land. Who land is here? It belongs to Ben Montgomery. What is Ben Montgomery? Y'all here. Come here, Ben. It's your land, yes. Where you get that? Well, from my old master. He called Mrs. That's what brings those papers, you understand? So it comes. Raise those notes and papers, you understand? Then this is your land. I don't want no kind of Negro land. Right on, right across the road. It's my land talk. And when freedom time come back, Master Jeff, come on home, you understand? And met him and give him cutting bags of money.
So what y'all think about that section right
That's
there?
That's some serious Stockholm syndrome right there.
What are you alluding to?
That he gave back he played mule for his white owner, so that the Union Army wouldn't burn the plantation down. Right. So that whole thing to protect it, that's purely a clear demonstration of what you're talking about, that he suffers from that ingrained Stockholm syndrome. But again, I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about how this guy now, 20 years after being free or whatever, still only has fun, right? Like, he doesn't remember the horrible times. And again, not saying slavery is good. I'm just pointing out that it's a very delicate thing, because a lot of people who were involved in it weren't involved in it for the same reasons they are historically being represented. It was a way of life back. It was everywhere. Like, it was only just starting to end across Western society. It wasn't like everywhere slavery stopped.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden America is just this one country with slaves.
Right.
No, I mean, America was
It's
one
not
of the
a good
first
thing.
without slavery.
I'm just trying to say the generational that everyone should be angry about it in perpetuity is not justified.
You know, you're right about that. And another thing that is not talked about often enough, it's kind of like people frame American slavery as the first foray into slavery in human history.
Or the last, or it's the last. Like that America was the last great holdout and evil because it made.
Well, yeah, right.
I'm just saying, but that's the conversation that doesn't happen. Sorry.
No, you're right, and it's neither. It's neither the first or the last. Right. In fact, Hillary Clinton, she rejoiced when Muammar Gaddafi died. She said, "We came, we saw he died," and then she cackled about it. And again, another example of strong man holding a region together. Now Libya is a hotbed of slavery today. Okay. And you also have a lot of it in the Middle East. They don't talk about it, but you certainly have.
They have legal indentured servitude there, like, which is as good as slavery for the most part. I mean,
So Reason, I want to get hold on. I want to get Reason's comment in here because Reason, you've been quiet for a little while.
I've just been listening, but what you guys just said at the very end is quite interesting because you really don't want to talk about too much because you're stepping on the toes of people who still feel like, you know what, they need to be victims. So, no, man, it's people will never talk about that kind of stuff because apparently American slavery was the most brutal form, and it was the most it was the most terrible and horrible and all of that good stuff. Yeah, believe it or not, almost every single group of people and culture went through slavery, and still to this day it continues to happen.
So real quick, Reason, because the two gentlemen are saying Mr. George Johnson is suffering from a severe case of Stockholm syndrome. But you had mentioned earlier in the conversation where when people tell you, about themselves or who they are, that's the truth. So how do you respond?
Believe them.
Yeah, believe them. Yeah. So how do you respond to soldiers in Gympie when they're saying they're diagnosing him with Stockholm syndrome and he's just kind of recounting the days that he was on the plantation?
Doesn't change anything. I mean, if you have Stockholm syndrome and he's saying what he's saying, believe him. I mean, no matter how we choose to look at it, if this is truly in his mind, even because of this diagnosis, if it's truly in his mind, the way he feels about it, we got to believe him.
Yeah. All right. So let's continue.
I mean, yeah.
Let's continue.
I just want to say,
hold on. Can I actually say before? Hold on.
Jefferson Davis organized for us.
Hold on, real quick. Now, just because you believe them doesn't necessarily mean they're right.
All right. Well, let's continue.
And what I mean by that is we have people today that believe they're everything, but that doesn't mean they're right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Slaves. Yes, they organized that band for the Negroes. And they've been on Variety Plantation. And he hired a man in Pittsburgh named Charles Morgan to teach them boys music. And he taught those boys music. They got so he could play. They escorted him from landing at home in a wagon and marched up in his hack. And the band was playing for him going and coming. And after he got so he could play, he bought him a uniform. And he named that band the Davis Bend Band. That's because everywhere he went.
How many pieces were in the band?
Yeah, 14. 14 men in the band. 14 men.
What kind of music did they play? Do you remember the pieces they played?
Oh, Lord, yes, indeed. No, I played myself. Played Grand National, Fourth Watch, East Richmond, Mount Road, Dream On, These are Boys Mountain.
So hold on.
Not Guilty.
So it sounds like Jefferson Davis did a lot of things to keep the slaves' minds off of busting up in his bedroom one night, slitting his throat, and becoming free. Okay. He kept them quelled. He kept them occupied with extracurricular activity. Right, exactly. Again,
and did you not get the super dictator vibe from what he just talked about? The dude literally, and you have to, I'm sorry, I was making the argument about gray area, but my honest impression, right, from listening to this, and you said to me you want honest impression, is Jefferson Davis is the super tyrant. He took his pets. He took his pets. He taught the pets the subhuman how to play music. Then he put them in little outfits and made them go everywhere and play music for him everywhere he went. That's like crazy tyrannical.
But wouldn't that be cool though, having a band though everywhere you went though?
But that's what you just said. That everywhere he went, these guys are playing music, coming and going.
Now I don't want to. I'm not
crazy.
I'm not criticizing Mr. Johnson. I'm not criticizing him because he was inculcated. He was inculcated into that. We're looking at it here centuries later, right? And so we've got the benefit of a lot of hindsight. I'm not criticizing him. And I think that his account also puts the lie to, you talk to every black person today, they were revolutionary. Oh, I wouldn't have been a slave. I'd have done this and I'd have done that. No, you would have dressed up in that damn outfit
and
you would have danced for Jefferson Davis.
Holy cow, dude! Can you imagine? Think about that in modern terms. If we took what Jefferson Davis was doing and we try and translate that into something relatable in the modern day, that's Muammar Gaddafi and his women commandos.
All right, let's keep going, man. Because
that's exactly what that is. Is he had his own little troop of black people playing? Holy cat, that is.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Band theory. I'm a soldier. Pound quick step. All that kind of stuff. You feel happy at myself. They had dancing. They had dancing. This quite quadruple. They danced 32 on set and 24 on set. They had this thing called Parmesan partner and dancing your partner like that. Then Parmesan swing. All that kind of stuff, you understand? See? And finally to the bar. Had a bar, I bought candy and so on, I guess, and apples and oranges, you understand? You carry a pot and spend a dime or a quarter on buying candy. I guess, Never had no soda water, you understand? They had lemonade made in the barrel.
But what year did you leave Davis's band?
Davis band? Left Davis band in the year of 84. Davis band connived from Vicksburg. We come near Vicksburg and stayed there till 87. Because I had to get in touch with Major McGinnis, his father-in-law, who was the supervisor of the railroad company. He's a white man, you understand, see? And given this part of this land, we dig out up here and you said it was Negroes, and they got in the country and got this land. And I came with me, another boy named Sheldon Allen, his father, stepfather, right, and my father, Peter Montgomery. They had killed this country, you understand? And y'all this land, you understand, see, in December. January, they moved 2 times this year. Sheldon Allen's mother was the first one to cook bread here. Cook bread here in 87 on a stump. We didn't do that. Cook bread on a stump. And never get bread. In July 12th, even we come big break up here. Golf team had merry-go. Walk up here, you understand? And while the men had made some staves, cross-ties, they took the slabs, picked them up, and made a shack. And that evening, she cooked that bread on a stump, that put in the shack. Right out there, had a stump. We made a big fire for her, and it was cold. Put it on the stump and put the skillet on there, you understand? Put the lid on the skillet and put it on top of the lid, and we got bread. And we got the first bread. That needed 7. How many years that been? 54 years. 4 years last July. That's
Well, how many families were here the next year?
Next year? Oh, we had about 15
Dude, he's describing sharecropping. Like, I never heard. This is wild, bro.
Yeah.
This is wild to hear. Next year, we had about 15 families come here, but not next year. They come to advertise, understand, getting people come here. Come the whole country, the South, understand, see? Come now, they have them come by letter and by advertising paper. Newspaper, understand? He had people like that, He sent to me around through the country. They all come here on account of night. He knew what he was trying to do. So all the folks in the land come to Davis Bend. Where we left Davis Bend, they all come to the Bend. They come across the road at Newtown, out the edge of the hills from Vicksburg, come back to Cotton Island because they know what he's trying to do. Get them all home.
and they put that land, and it's gone now. Land here, football gone.
Mm.
Well, when would you say that you had your greatest prosperity here? Greatest prosperity in life we had here when Connecticut lived, and Charles Banks and John Francis. They were the life of my body. Since they're gone, why my body's gone. There's no backbone. There's no backbone in this curriculum here at all. You need somebody that get in front. Every gang needs to have a leader. His gang chickens got to have a leader. Well, they got no leader, you understand? So you need leadership. What they ain't got.
That's interesting because even today we see, even our Black community, white community, all try to find who's the Black leader. Notice no one ever says that about any other constituency. Mm-hmm. Who's the gay leader? Who's the white leader? But even back then, he's looking for this nebulous leader.
That's why I told Logic he's got to become the warlord, give up the day job, raise the army, and overthrow it all, and instill himself as the new what's his name? The one that they all love now, the young guy. Oh, in Burkina Faso.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, the young guy. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can't remember his name now. Uh-huh. My age is showing. But yeah, dude, that's like, I'm sorry. I know everybody doesn't want to hear it, but the line in later, Bob, the line in Starship Troopers is the best. Michael Ironside in the classroom. Naked force has resolved more conflicts in the history of mankind than any other single thing.
Yeah. I mean, you're onto something, man. But I do think it's. I think this builds courage. Like when you look at history and know where you come from, know where you want to go, know what you're fighting for, it does build a level of courage and resilience. And also, I think it allows to give a little bit of what I'm calling human grace. Because when you realize we're all human, we're fighting the forces not against each other, but against literal evil that wants to take over our families, our country, our communities. I think you can approach things more tactfully, more strategically, and more diligently, right? There's always that balance, who's right, who's wrong. It's a 51% versus 49 type thing, but I don't know. I just feel like we should be studying history a little bit more, a lot more, listening to people from the past and what they're saying. I think we'll get a lot less emotional about those things. Reason, get your thoughts, man. You heard Mr. George Johnson, and I want to do this again too, because there's another guy from Baltimore that they interviewed, and I think he had some pretty interesting commentary, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. But Reason, what do you think about that interview, man?
It was an interesting interview. It proves that it proves two different things. One, it proves that sometimes you have to again go back and do the research, even if it's some Stockholm syndrome type thing. You still have to go back and do the research and don't believe everything you hear. I'm still going to stick on that 100%. Kind of like the whole movie, The Woman King, kind of like that. Everyone said that was a movie about a young lady who was the lead of a all-female warrior tribe. Come to find out that group of people was really the enemy of the story. They had 100% to do with being in the slave trade. They were a part of that. They were more ruthless than any. So yeah, you got to go back and do the research. You can't just sit here and.
You took the wrong message from that. See, what I would have taken from that moment is okay, slavery is now good. Let's get back in business. I mean, I'm just saying.
What about soldiers, man? Just like one quick takeaway from the interview.
No, I thought it was extremely interesting. I am glad that George Johnson sat for that and gave us a window into his life. And I think we should pay attention to it because there were a lot of things in there that like the slavish devotion to political ideology that we have today, and when we see in the Democrats, it's funny because Jefferson Davis was a Democrat. Okay, so a lot to digest. I'll be thinking about this for a while. Very, very good history.
Right on. All right. So, Gimpy, did you have anything to add there? Or we want to make sure we're good.
I'm just happy that I got to see Jefferson Davis in a whole new light. Now, the next time some white supremacist gives me some bullshit about him, I'll just be like, you know that his own slave testifies to dressing him up like little dolls, making them play music. Yeah, he's a great guy.
He said, make sure you feed my niggas.
Yeah. Don't call my niggas.
I don't know, bro. It's like make sure you feed my niggas.
And did you guys find it interesting that he alluded briefly to work in the fields? Mm-hmm. He alluded to that very briefly, but apparently that is not the sum total of his memory.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of the
time. Right. No, yo, whoa. Like even the layman, it's because he could write. So he automatically had more value than someone who couldn't write. So why would I put him in the field? I'll use the writing skill. He's a free bookkeeper.
He didn't say he wasn't in the field.
I'm saying, but he would have less time in the field because he could read, because he could write. They would give him more important tasks, especially because he was clearly a well-behaved. I mean, I hate saying that out loud, but
so would you put him in the house nigga category or?
Yeah. Oh, he's an Uncle Tom. Okay. He's an uncle. That's the definition of an Uncle Tom. That and the uncle, they called him Uncle Robert or whatever.
Uncle Ben. But hold on now. Is he an Uncle Tom? Because remember, Tom. Listen now, Tom. Let's not give him too much credit. Tom was willing to put his life at risk for other slaves. But is George Johnson more of the type that would have done things to preserve the lifestyle he was living? I don't know.
Well, okay. I mean, that one dude pretended to got the paperwork so he could own the plantation. I mean, in the way they reference it as a derogatory term, he's the type they would be talking about. He's the good old house guy.
Yep.
And keeping the plantation going.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get to the Bring Back Shame clip of the week. And this one, guys, I'm going to get your immediate reactions because we want to get out of here as quickly as possible. And guys, remember, our goal here is to bring back shame, and just the existing culture is dead. We got to create a new one. The existing culture, rather, is too far gone. So we have to create a new one. But that is going to start with each and every one of you remembering to bring back shame and standing up and being willing to speak out. So I got this clip, and, you know, kind of in line with what we were talking about earlier. I am going to play it. Here we go.
When I dress up and I put this mask on and the wig and, you know, look very nice, it's like a beautiful woman walking down the street.
I just can't believe that that's a 70-year-old man in the mirror. And that's why I do this. If I saw a 70-year-old man in the mirror, I'd quit this tomorrow.
After years in solitude, Robert has decided to appear in public as Sherry at a gathering of fellow maskers in Minneapolis.
I don't have any friends that mask where I live, so I just came to see what kind of people do mask and wear rubber and are rubber dolls.
And what kind of people are they?
I don't know yet. All right. That might work with the wig. Okay, all right. Jeez, I don't know. No, I'm gonna go with that. But then with the gloves, damn it. When I do it, I want to look really good.
Soldiers, go. You're muted.
You're muted, bro.
Quick deviation. Just want to address Sir El Cid real quick. Love when people put today's standards and knowledge on the past. We actually acknowledged that that's what we were doing. That's all that we can do. We did say that this guy, the slave, that we were looking at it with hundreds of years of hindsight. We acknowledged that. Now, as for what we just saw, I have some glass cleaner here that I'm about to spray directly into my eyeballs. Tyronistan has a program where we give free helicopter rides. I don't know if I mentioned that. That's all I'll say about what we just saw.
All right, reason.
Yeah, I have no words for that. I'll just say that what I continue to say, mental illness is real, and there's a special place again in Tyronistan, people just like that.
Gippy, you're muted.
Make mental institutions great again. Yes, and forcibly ensure that they're filled to the brim with all of them. All of them. Oh, dude, in Tyronistan, the secret police never sleep. I know, because I'm in charge of them in Tyronistan. I'm just saying, we're out there. We're coming for you. Like, dude, I'm sorry. We are not going to win. Not with what we're... This is not going to save us. Maybe we'll inspire someone to save us. But, like, dude, they're literally destroying dude, you literally have the horseshoe effect happening in real time, where the woke right and the woke left have come together to try and force the middle out of the equation with the messaging vibe that's going on. I'm sorry. This has to go. All of it. Anyway, it's got to go.
All right, guys, let us know what you think in the comments below. Let us know what you think about the Bring Back Shame clip of the week. What you got, Reason?
So, okay, JT, look, okay. There was a period of time in my life in which I would have actually took the time to comment on a comment like this.
You're literally doing it right now.
No. I'm commenting on the fact that there was a period of time that I would have commented on this kind of comment.
So your non-comment is basically a comment to his point, sir.
Hey, you know what?
Mr. Logic,
it is what it
Mr.
is.
Logic, we salute you.
There's no reason in that.
But you know what?
On that note, you should end the stream.
You know what? Goodbye. So that's
that.
how we rectify situations like that. We just get rid of. Let's bring them back. Well, I you know what? I have no words. I don't. I mean, I have never seen anything in my life like that ever. I don't know. The fact that I don't.
And that's it. He's 70.
Get him up out of here.
He said he was 70 years old, right?
70, bro. And this is also happened in Minneapolis, by the way. This is the culture of Minneapolis, kind of bringing us back to communism and the whole trends and all this stuff.
We just got to remove them from the union, dude. We just got to say, you're right. Minneapolis and Michigan are their own little country. We can call it, Somaliland or whatever you want to call it. And just give them their own country and get them out of our tax bracket and our civil responsibility, and then point mid-range missiles directly into the center of their country, just for ensuring, and build a wall.
Just to be clear, Metro Conservative Media does not condone violence, nor does the views expressed on this program necessarily represent those of Metro Conservative Media.
They're
we
all
believe
mine.
in free speech.
They're all mine.
Just have to, give a little disclaimer, because we all say some.
And they're only for educational purposes. This is purely intellectual discussion.
Purely intellectual discussion. Yeah. Entertainment purposes only. All right, guys, let's get out of here, man. You guys, it's Labor Day weekend, socialist holiday this weekend. So have a great weekend. It's kind of the official end of summer. Barbecue. I was trying to find a grill on sale. I just moved, but the good grills seem to be full price still.
Oh yeah.
So
dude, they're not They don't put them on sale till after Labor Day.
But the labor, you're supposed to have a Labor Day sale, but you know,
Not on grills, buddy.
Not on grills, buddy.
I know, man. I was trying.
That's right, Bling.
I was trying. And JT, I am still in the same spot, actually. You know, they let me decorate a little bit. I was able to unpack at least 3 or 4 books that I like to read. And the Taliban has been very gracious. Maybe I am suffering from the same thing Mr. George Johnson was suffering. Yeah, there you go, JT. But guys, make sure you hit that like button, share, subscribe. Guys, if you learned something tonight, you know, hit that, let us know, hit that like button, let us know.
It was totally by accident.
Yeah, yes. And comment to let us know if you like to continue to see more, or let us know what you'd like to see more of, more discussing history or what needs to be shamed. We're a part of the Metro Conservative Media Network. If you haven't checked out Poppin' Politics, you need to do so. I don't know what you're waiting for. KJ Christian Conservative, I don't know what you're waiting for. And All American Talk. Make sure you check out all the Metro Conservative Media productions. And again, we are just the guys going live on Saturdays at 6:30. Just a quick announcement: we are going to be off on September 20th because I am encouraging everyone to be at my house for that. So yeah, I'm having a housewarming, so you guys will get the invite. But Chad, well, you want to close this out, man? Get us out of here, bro.
Absolutely.